Go! Welcome back to another edition of Splitting Hairs with Max, Nicky, and Nickon. As usual, I'm Max.
I'm Nicky.
And I'm Nickon.
And together
we're Max,
Nicky,
Nicky, and Nickon.
That's right.
As you guys may notice, that we have a little bit of those that are watching the video of this, we have a little bit of a different setup than normal because Max is in Los Angeles while Nicky is in New York, and Nickon is in New York as well, and he's on the tail end. I don't know if you would care for me to reveal this, but he is on the tail end of having COVID right now. But
I don't want you to reveal it.
Oh crap! But is it
listeners are gonna be like, I'm not hanging out with that guy anymore,
right? But he's such a trooper. He's like, I gotta make it to the podcast.
Got a podcast.
Nicky will be. It is the holidays, and Nicky will be joining me shortly in Los Angeles. But he had to do some work. He had work.
Of course, this episode will come out after the holidays. But I do want to say it's interesting. We did a show a couple nights ago. Max and I did a show that was going on in Los Angeles.
A comedy show.
Max was live for it.
Well, I was in person.
I was coming in through Zoom.
Oh, how'd
on
that
the
go?
projector, and we did our set like that.
How'd it go? Was the timing insane?
The timing was slightly weird at times, but you know what? I gotta say, I mean, if I may, is it okay to say that I think we did the best on the show, maybe, right?
Oh, get out of here. And so what was the scale?
Everyone did really well. I felt like we did really well too.
So we must have done really well.
How big was Nicky's head compared to your head?
My head was
much
giant.
bigger.
Oh, bigger. Oh,
they projected
like
it on a
projector.
screen. But it really worked because there's this one bit of ours that Nicky does this. It's called the scream bit, and Nicky does he morphs his face into the mask of the ghost face. Scream face, and it was just projected really largely for everybody. So everyone, I think that really got things really going on our set, I think.
Nice.
Yes.
I couldn't, when I was zooming in, the audio was such that I couldn't really hear the audience. And I kept thinking, oh man, I hope I'm not like stepping on the laugh line at all, But I guess it worked out.
But you could hear Max. You were going off of Max.
I could hear Max. I was going off him, but it was a little. The audio from the crowd wasn't loud enough. Or
you hear that, crowd, for next time.
No. I mean, Max could hear it. Max could hear it very well. But it's just because Max's voice was going through a microphone. I don't know. Anyway,
right? Yeah,
it was cool though. We'll definitely use some of that video footage that was shot.
Yeah, that would be an interesting post. I don't think anyone ever has done that because,
most people don't do duo.
Most people don't do duo acts, and it's kind of interesting. Anyway, so that was our week. No, I'm just kidding.
And obviously Nickon just mentioned that he had COVID, so that's probably what he was doing for most of the.
Actually, Max mentioned that.
Nickon, how's your week?
Max outed me.
Yeah.
It's
terrible.
Listen, it sucks getting COVID. I know. I'm like over. I'm over it. I'm over caring about it and all that kind of stuff. Like I go out and I live my life, and I'm like, if I'm going to get COVID, I'm going to get COVID.
Mm-hmm.
But when you get COVID, it's not pleasant. So just a reminder of.
Yeah, I'm trying to. I don't want to get. I'm trying to be careful right now, being abroad right now. No, being in Los Angeles, and I just don't. Yeah, I don't want to deter my trip out here in any way.
Yeah.
Really.
I feel like I've been on the front lines teaching these kids chess, these third graders.
Yeah.
They just cough and sneeze without covering their mouths. And
wait, is it living on a front line?
No, living on a thin line.
Oh, thin line. That's right.
He's talking about a Kinks song. Anyway, guys,
any fun swear word anecdotes from the last week and with working with the kids?
That's
any
funny.
F-bombs or
it's funny you should mention that.
R-words?
Just yesterday, when I was working with the high school kids yesterday, they got some gym time, so they were able to play some basketball, which really helps calm them down. So when we go back into the room and play video games and chess, they're so much quieter because they've gotten all that energy out of them.
Sure.
And I'm like, man, I wish we could do this every time. They can just go to the gym for a bit and then come back. But it was funny seeing these two kids get in an argument with each other. It wasn't funny, but they were calling each other all sorts of names on the court. And I was saying like, hey guys, just calm down. Don't say each other that and call each other that. And, they were using certain words that I would not be able to use,
Yeah.
But it was almost as if what I was trying to calm them down, it was like there was a wall. Like they wouldn't, their minds weren't even registering that I was talking to them. They were just going at it with each other.
Just pure rage.
Pure rage. And I just thought, well, if they could release this on the basketball court, I guess that's better than
instead of on the chessboard.
But man, I mean, God, they were calling each other some pretty crazy things that I was like, man, that is really mean. Like they're
give us some acronyms.
Well,
MF
like one of them is a little bit more overweight, and this one kid was he was using that kid's weight as a landing, like a launch pad for all sorts of derogatory terms that were like, wow, that's really mean.
It's just a lot of creativity.
He was big enough to be a launch pad himself. I'm just kidding.
Oh,
that's really cool.
Whoa!
I'm joking. I'm joking.
I mean, it is, it's mean spirited, but it is kind of interesting to see the creativity that goes into like.
Sure.
It's crazy.
It's almost like improv. Like, give me a topic, fat, and then I'll just come up with like.
Well, I remember.
Well,
this girl was like making fun of this kid's teeth. He was like, she's like, you buck tooth something. I'm like. It's funny because that guy usually wears a mask. I'm like, I don't even know what his teeth look like.
Well, it's kind of interesting. There's a comedian that, when that whole Will Smith thing happened, and his wife has alopecia, and this one stand-up comedian who also has alopecia felt...
You can say who it is.
Yeah, well, Jeff Ross, I guess. Yeah. He was saying that he was like, oh, that's such a shame. Obviously, it was a terrible thing that happened.
You just added Jeff Ross for having alopecia.
No, he's outed himself.
No, I'm kidding.
No, I know, but that's what's funny is Max
no,
is
it's
afraid
like very
to
obvious
say it.
That
Right?
It's yeah.
Oh, right. I see what you're saying. Well, some people might just think he shaves his head or he's just regularly bald,
No, he talked.
No, he has talked about it too.
Right. But he said it's such a shame because when you do something like that, it stigmatizes it in a way. He's like, by joking around about it, it actually desensitizes it. And
it normalizes.
It kind of normalizes it in a way. And
totally.
That way, if you don't take it seriously, it's like, okay, well, I shouldn't take it seriously then,
Yeah.
So that's an interesting thing.
But on to more important topics, guys.
Yes. What's our subject for today?
I hear we got some opinions on toilet paper.
Yeah, so today, folks, listeners, our subject for today is toilet paper preference.
Yes.
And
since mainly because I think it's been a while since I've refereed or moderated, I'm going to take the moderator seat, but also because I don't really, I haven't really gone that deep, so to speak.
I've got intended, I guess.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, you haven't refereed or judged since the first episode, I think. So
is that right? Oh, okay. Well, yeah, I'm long overdue. So yeah.
So
what are the stances?
So I think first we should
mention the different types here.
Not just define our terms as we usually do, but we should talk about the qualities of a toilet paper.
But, should we take a step back? Does everybody in the audience know what toilet paper is? Do we want to define toilet paper?
I think we all know what toilet paper is. It's,
you got your different brands.
Something that you create with
you have Charmin, you have
paper, and no, I'm just kidding.
You got Scott, Charmin, you got 365 brand by Whole Foods. You got
Trader Joe's brand.
Trader Joe's.
You got the Walgreens, they got a brand in there,
Walgreens
right?
brand. You got
Target has this brand recently.
Big Roll at Walgreens. Like they had something at Walgreens. It's like the off-brand Scott. It's called Big Roll.
They've got anyway. They got many brands. There's 1-ply. There's
Bounty.
2-ply. There's
who on earth
Bounty
would choose 1-ply if they had?
Well, that's where it gets.
I will tell you. No. Let me finish.
Well, I don't want to betray my bias as the judge, but that's
okay. Check it out.
Hold on, Max. Before you get into, are you about to say a preference of yours, or?
Well, I'm going to talk about an old preference of mine. How about
because I will say right off the bat, our older brother and sister, no, not my sister, but my older brother prefers 1-ply Scott tissue. I think it's crazy.
That's impossible.
Well, let me back him up on this. Okay. I used to be like that as well.
I'm saying all the money in the world, you're going to pick 1-ply.
Insane in the membranous region, as Max would say. Insane in the membranous region.
Okay.
Let me explain why. I'm listening. Okay. Scott, I'm not talking about all the money in the roll. I'm talking about for one, I feel like not just Scott, but like Big Roll, which is the off-brand Scott, comes with 1,000 1-ply roll sheets. If you are trying to be more efficient with your money and economize, 1,000 sheets per roll, that's a lot. And if you look at, and don't say, oh, what about double ply? Always on double ply, even if you account for double ply, it's still, you can see the square footage of all of it together, but it's much less. And in addition, here's the thing: if you're worried about, like, if you have a septic tank or something like that, instead of a sewage system that's attached to your toilet, or
but I'm talking all the money in the world. I'm not talking let's worry about saying, like, clogging,
We're
talking about all the money in the world.
Like, for instance, I know that one of my sister's toilets.
In fact, that's my preference for toilet paper is all of the money in the world.
Oh, you would prefer to wipe your butt with
all of the world's
cash money.
Well,
yes.
I know one of my sister's toilets has kind of a low flow situation, and so it doesn't. It's hard if you're putting down, stuff that's, thicker. It's not as good. It's harder on that toilet.
Can I ask a stupid question when you're talking about square footage? Don't you find that you need to don't you find that you need to use more of the 1-ply in order to get the job done?
I totally agree, and that's an argument that I would have brought up.
Here, let me explain. Can I finish? Here's the thing. Yes, you do need to use more, but you're still let's say you have 2-ply, right?
Yeah.
So you're gonna, for every you're using two 1-ply sheets for every 1 2-ply sheet, right?
Mm-hmm.
Theoretically,
you're still getting much more. In that 1,000 sheet roll, you're still getting much more for your buck.
But it would have to be cheaper. So it is cheaper. It would have to be half the price per square inch.
Exactly. It's even cheaper though. It's even cheaper.
I would say that.
But I will say,
to Max's point on when you're buying a 2-ply toilet paper, usually, unless it's some kind of ultra pack, it's 250 sheets per roll.
Right, something around that.
Of 2-ply. So theoretically speaking, a 1-ply 1,000 sheet roll would equal 500 2-ply sheets. But
But here's the
that's
problem.
Theoretically speaking.
Theoretically, however, I will contend, and that's why I've switched roles recently. Not recently, in the past few years.
Okay. I'm going to want to know what's changed in the last few years.
Well, what happened was, the quarantine happened actually. So I wasn't able to get 1,000 sheet rolls anymore. Because I was ordering from Whole Foods, and I noticed that I was able to, with the 1 sheet rolls, they kind of are they're very thin, and so they piece apart really easily. So when you're taking it off the roll, actually, sometimes you end up grabbing like 1.5 on accident.
Yeah.
It doesn't like perforate as well. So you end up
I will say,
getting too much actually sometimes, or you're getting sometimes you're like, oh, this is too thin. I need a little bit more or something like that.
Sure.
And so you're not. But with the 2-ply, it's a little bit thicker. So you're kind of like, oh,
You know where the perforations are.
you know where the
They're
perforation is, and you
clearer.
can just, I don't know however your method of wiping is, but you can take the exact amount you need, basically. You know?
Sure. And yeah, I'm going to want to know each of your guys' preferred methods of wiping as well. But before we get into that, something did come to mind in support of the 1-ply argument, which is, if you are getting, let's just call it your price per ply is objectively less with 1-ply than it is with 2-ply.
Oh, you mean your PPP?
Your PPP, it's less.
Your PPP for TP?
then isn't it better to just have more control over what you do with each ply, each unit of ply? So say you're always going to prefer doubling up. At least you have that control rather than having the manufacturer tell you, hey, this is the bare bones unit of a square. It's 2-ply. Deal with it, buddy. If you want
I
to
see what you're saying.
It gives you more. It gives you more control.
Yeah. Okay.
You have 1-ply. You got more control. You can do all the bunching you need, folding, whatever, to get you where you need.
Still bunch and fold if you want.
Can I speak? Because I haven't.
But you
spoken
are
really.
Yes, you are. You are limited
Max,
to
can I
it
speak?
being 2-ply each time.
Can I speak, Max?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
I've got. I need to refute a lot of things that were just said.
I have to admit I haven't done nearly as much research as you guys have, which is surprising because
you bring up a good point, Nickon.
Yeah.
But I like being told what each square is. I don't want to create my own shape. I like, this is 1 square. I think they've done their research, these companies, and they've determined this is a good amount of square inches per sheet on toilet paper that will indicate how much a person needs for each wipe. And you can take 2 squares. I often take 2 squares at a time. But
2 squares, that's adorable. I'm like 4 to 5 at least per. Yeah.
I'm talking 2-ply.
Oh yeah, I like to. I'm.
Wow, that's
yeah.
No.
Well,
hey, I get it, Nickon. You gotta make sure you're clean down there, right?
Here's the thing, guys.
No, but I'm
very regimented about this, and I take 2 squares, I fold it,
2 squares
I fold
is
it again.
dangerous to me.
I fold it again, and that
depends on the thickness. Actually.
That amount of thickness is the perfect amount. Now, with 1-ply, you don't know how much you're going to get per thing. And I would argue that you end up wasting more toilet paper using a 1-ply. Hold on, I'm not done. I'm not finished. And
I think it depends on your style. I think it really depends on your wipe style.
I do think that using 1-ply in general, regardless of how many square inches you have, I think that 2 sheets of 1-ply does not equal 1 sheet of 2-ply. I think they're thinner than that, and they're fooling the consumer. It actually is I feel like that. Well, it might be 4 sheets of 1-ply that equal 1 sheet of 2-ply.
Well, it depends on the company you're getting. It depends on the company.
And here's another thing.
Here's another thing, guys. You are failing to mention is that it depends on also how messy it is down there.
Of course. We're talking about your standard run of the mill, just visit to the toilet.
Well,
you're talking about a pretty healthy log.
Here's a stupid question: is there more? Have they done the razor thing and like tried 3-ply, 4-ply, just like outplying each other? Like,
what's interesting is
adding a blade.
I think if it gets too thick, that's going to be.
Well, actually,
I think a toilet paper that's too soft is it's no good for me.
Yes.
Yes. Okay. That's perfect. It looks like you do have a preference, Nickon.
What are you talking about?
Yeah, I guess I do.
You've been living quite a long time. You've had.
Okay, you're right.
30 some odd years of research here. Here's the thing, though. I do want to mention before we get into. Too soft. I just want to mention that there is about thickness. I think Charmin has a certain kind of roll that's really thick, and we got it one time and actually it was quite nice, I must say.
Okay. I wanted to mention that, Max.
It was quite.
Charmin
Let me
made
finish.
this roll.
It was quite. Let me finish. It was quite nice. They also give you a lot of it too. Now, here's the thing. Our bathroom has like one of those like toilet roll things that are attached to the wall. So it couldn't really fit in it, actually, which is the problem. So you have to like finish some of it first before you put it in there. Yeah, that was the only problem I had with it. Well, but I will say it was thick and soft. And here's another thing about it.
Did it have enough tread? I think it can be soft.
Not linty.
Not linty.
Some of these things are too linty. I don't like that.
Max is right. So this particular, now it was more expensive than other rolls, but it was the only thing available at the store at the time. And it was a Charmin Ultra, I think. It was soft, it was thick, and it didn't piece apart in your butthole.
Yeah. Or your hand. Or
in your hand.
Well, that's a nightmare. That's literally one of my great nightmares.
And so there was no dingleberry situation, as it were.
Sure. Do you guys have any scares during COVID with the toilet paper situation? Like, do you ever run dangerously low or anything?
We seem to prepare ourselves.
Also, there's a market a couple blocks away from us that
they didn't ever seem too in danger.
I was pretty lucky with the timing. I think I just happened to go to the drugstore, let's call it March 7th, and got a big old pack of toilet paper, not knowing that there was going to be hoarding and all that stuff going on.
Yeah, I remember.
That was good for a few months.
I remember the last time, if I ever needed toilet paper or paper towels, I would usually go after work at nighttime. Get off of work. I used to be a waiter, and I would get off and go to, Walgreens or something like that. And the last night I worked, I noticed a lot of people getting toilet paper and paper towels. I'm like, what the hell is going on here? I just thought it was so strange. And then it was just interesting. And then I realized, I should have been doing this. Crap.
Something that we did run low on that we were having trouble getting was rubbing alcohol. Because it was at the time where we didn't know how it was spread. And so every time we got groceries, we would alcoholize every, item of groceries.
Every facet of the
and, at one point my sister had to mail us a bottle of rubbing alcohol.
Oh, wow.
But it's so funny how tedious, and painstaking everything was at that time. It was like April of 2020, where we just every time we got groceries, it wasn't like we put it in the refrigerator right away. We had to alkalize everything.
Oh boy, what a horrible nightmare.
I didn't do that a single time.
Really? Well, you were smart.
And look who has COVID right now.
And that's why you got COVID, right?
Yeah. Just goes to show.
COVID, by the way, but before during the actual pandemic. Not pandemic, but during the quarantine?
No, I never got it. No, I only got it after I got vaccinated.
It's funny. I didn't get it at all until this past June. Yeah, we went to a wedding in New Orleans.
Well, we were in New Orleans. I mean, I know why we got it. We found out that somebody had it at the wedding, actually. But
of course, you're out living your life.
I know you think it's going to sound crazy, but I just watched all of that Wednesday TV show.
Oh my God.
Oh.
Was it bad?
Was it not good?
Oh, actually, you don't have to say. Actually, it's a podcast. You don't have to say anything.
I was entertained, and I do think that the girl playing Wednesday Addams, she does a very good job at the role.
Okay, well, there you go.
You guys snapped, and it just reminded me of Addams Family.
Is it an interesting theme song, or is it disappointing?
Danny Elfman did the music for it.
All right, nice.
But it's it's just typical Danny Elfman fare.
Sure.
But
a lot of
there's
sharp
comedians in it,
there.
Like Fred Armisen plays Uncle Fester.
Who does?
Fred Armisen plays Uncle Fester.
That's. I mean, he doesn't do anything bad, so it's like anything badly.
Right.
It's interesting. Also, Louise
Guzman.
Louise Guzman.
I love that guy.
He plays Gomez
Addams.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
You know what? I'm going to watch it.
In previous versions of Addams Family, it's usually like somebody more like Raul Julia plays
Totally,
in the movies,
yeah.
and he's more.
I mean,
Well, I love his
That's who
version,
I
but
picture.
apparently in the cartoon, like in the actual comic or whatever, he's supposed to be more goofy, like not supposed to be suave, really, right?
Cool.
I guess. Anyway, so
right?
yeah,
Isn't that so?
I guess I don't know for sure. Although Morticia is still played by like
Catherine Zeta-Jones,
beautiful.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah, which is like
wow.
But they're not in it that much. It's
Christina Ricci's in it too. That's fun.
Yeah,
but
Christina Ricci's in it too. Yeah. Ricky Lindholm is in it too, actually, who's in Garfunkel and Oates.
All right. Well, let's get back to the topic at hand.
Yeah, let's get back into this TP business.
Yeah.
Oh, I have a funny story about calling it TP.
Okay, let's hear it.
So
this better be funny, and it better be a story.
Okay. Well, you'll be disappointed then.
I hope it's not too long of a story.
Well, I just say, Nicky and I took AP psychology in high school, and what's that? Bragger?
I said bragger.
Hey, you want me to really brag? I got a 5 on the AP test.
Oh, wow. Excuse me. I'll excuse myself.
I got a 4. I should have got a 5, but I got a 4.
Well, you should have, would have, could have, but you didn't. No, I'm just kidding. Anyway, so one of the things that she was trying to demonstrate was how humans are kind of unreliable sources for information. Anyway, so she was trying to demonstrate this by us basically doing telephone and throughout the whole class. And she told me a story. I was the first one to go. And she told me a story about how her sorority played a prank on this, fraternity, where they gave them laxatives for these brownies they made for them. And then they had stolen all their toilet paper from their bathrooms. Mm-hmm. And she said something to the effect at the end of it, like, no TP, no something. And I didn't know what TP meant at the time. I hadn't heard that as a substitution for toilet paper at the time. It was the first time I heard it. So I was like,
you were in AP psychology and you hadn't heard TP yet?
Didn't hear it.
He was in AP and he never heard TP.
Well, I wasn't the only one, though, actually, is the thing. So she told me this. I was thinking like a Native American TP or something like that. I was like, what is this? I don't know what she's talking about. This has nothing to do with the story you just mentioned to me. And I was like, I'm sorry, can you repeat that again? And she's like, oh, all right. She's like, because it's kind of a longer story. And so she was like, all right, I'll say it again, but make sure you hear it again. And she said it, and I was like, all right, TP, I got it, I guess. So I mentioned it. I go to the next person, and I mentioned something about a teepee, like the triangle-looking hut thing, And by the time it gets all around, people mess the story up completely, but also mention that this teepee, like a living space, where somebody habitates a teepee. And she's like, why is this being mentioned? And I was like, oh, you said teepee. And she's like, toilet paper. And I wasn't the only one in the class, though. A lot of people were like, oh, I haven't heard that before. So anyway, that's the story.
Wow, that was a long story just to get to the point. But
told you, you're going to be disappointed.
I liked it.
Anyway, so we've established the different kinds of toilet paper that are out there. But maybe we should really talk about our own personal preferences now,
Yeah, and before we do, let's get into wiping styles. Let's just like a quick summary of like what your
quick summary. I like to fold.
It's evolved.
I like to fold.
So you do a couple of. I like to fold into a square or rectangle maybe, and
so you take one square. Okay, so you take one square and you fold it into a rectangle.
One or two.
Okay.
I fold it over a couple times into a rectangle.
Wait, one or two? That's got to be at least two.
I'm just baffled by that. Like I don't even count. I take a handful. I take a bunch and I bunch it up.
You bunch up?
I bunch up because I think I get more coverage that way.
I feel like that's too messy.
Here's the thing.
You get more texture picking everything up.
No,
okay,
incorrect.
So hold on.
I gotta.
Well, I'm not finished, Max.
All right, fine.
So you take that and you do a couple of dry wipes, make sure there's a good amount of the brown is away. Then hopefully the sink is near you. You fold another rectangle, you put some water on it. That way that loosens, and you wipe with that, and that way it loosens up things a little bit more than it would a dry thing. And then you do a couple of those, and then you wipe dry again. And by that time and I get deep in there to make sure that everything is gone,
But it usually only takes you three squares, let's call it.
No.
Well, three goes.
No. I would say if we're talking about
I was going to be very
normal,
impressed.
That seems like I don't think you're cleaning very well.
If we're talking about our regular, normal, healthy log, definitely not. I mean, I'm not spending an eternity on there, but I make sure I'm thorough. So
I'm impressed by the wetting, the middle. It's usually just one go with the wet and then one go with the dry at the end. So it's like
no, it's not.
No. He's just saying
you're misunderstanding.
No, I'm saying so you do however many you need at the beginning with dry, right?
Mm-hmm.
No, he does more.
You do a wet, and then
he does how many?
Well, I do maybe 2 wets.
2 wets to begin.
Oh, okay. I think it's a bad idea to wet to begin.
That's what I'm saying. So you do a handful of dries.
I do a handful of dries, or not even that. I do a few dries, depending on what the situation is. Yeah. And then I do a wet, then I do a dry, then I do a wet, then I do a dry.
Whoa.
And usually by that point, it's pretty thorough, and I'm done.
I'll say that's thorough. Yeah, that's pretty gosh darn thorough.
Here's the thing. I don't once I get to the wet, I don't go wet, dry. I just keep doing wet.
Oh, that's a bad idea.
I don't think that's a bad idea.
You don't dry at the end? You don't do
No, I do dry at the end, at the very end, yes.
Yeah.
But I don't think it's like, I'll liken it to you spill something on the floor, and I will, you'll dry out as much off as possible without the wet, and then you wet and clean that off, but you're not drying again and then wetting again. You just keep getting it with the wet.
No, but that's a bad analogy.
All right, what if you're in a?
I don't think it's a bad analogy. I think that's a good analogy.
No, it's not, because you're after you've wiped everything with the dry and then you wet, you're only going to use one wet. You're not going to use multiple wets in that situation.
Well, my whole thing is if you alternate.
I don't agree with that. I use multiple
if you alternate
wets
between wet and dry, then you can use the dry as like basically a test to see what progress you're making.
Totally that's exactly why I do it, Nickon.
Incorrect. You can see what progress
Thank you, Nickon. No,
incorrect.
Right,
Incorrectamundo.
He's the judge. He's the judge. He knows.
I'm just saying, maybe. All right.
What do you mean progress? You can see it's white.
Max is saying you can see
your toilet paper. You can see progress on the.
No. I feel like when toilet paper is wet.
Brown.
No, when toilet paper is wet, it obscures the full color spectrum of. I feel like you can't see completely.
That's not
the progress.
I'm well trained in knowing. You can look. Here's how you tell the difference. You can see what it looks like when it's wet before you wipe, and you can see if there's a difference after you do wipe. That's how you figure it out.
I don't know why you trick yourself that way. It's
not a trick. I have 30 some odd years of experience.
And you're sitting the whole time, right? You're just doing a little bit of a lean, right?
That's right. That's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah.
Now
I had a friend who was a stander and wiper until college. At one point, I don't know, it came up in conversation and everybody made fun of him for standing and wiping.
I mean, what is he, like a toddler?
So he changed his ways.
Like a toddler wipes.
Yeah, I don't know.
I understand
here's a question, though. Here's the question, Nickon. And I've heard this being argued before by Tom Segura. Like my older brother and Tom Segura had this debate before. Do you wipe going up, scooping up, or do you wipe going down, or is something altogether different? Because for me, I would say generally wipe up, but it's not like that. It's more like I get in there,
Yeah, but like directionally, it's definitely excuse me, but I start at the testicles and I go up. Just to be clear,
that seems the most natural.
Yeah. You mean you start at the perineum, as it were?
Yes, if we want to be scientific here, which of
or
course we
as in common parlance, the taint. is
the
what they
taint.
call it.
Yes. So I start there and go up, and yes, of course,
You mean
going
go
deep,
back?
Yeah,
if
yeah,
you're
yeah.
sitting, it's back, but
into
like
the right,
on the spine,
back into the right. No, I'm
on
just.
up on the spine.
That's right. Well,
But
yes,
I
I
don't.
kind of start
I'm,
like that, but
I'm
then
impressed. I'm almost embarrassed by my bunching technique because,
Well,
like,
let me
I
explain.
just
Here,
bunch it because I'm afraid. You know what it is? I'm afraid of any chance of contact with my fingers.
And that's good.
And so-
God.
so
Remind
I
me to
have, like,
speak about these women with really long fingernails. But okay,
I
go
don't
on.
know how they do it. I don't know
So
how
like
they do it.
I basically create a ball around my fingers because in a lot of ways my primary objective is to protect my hand.
Okay, very good. That's a good thing to say.
And so
But here's the
I'm
thing. I'm
full
very
coverage with the bunch, and then I just drag it.
Here's the thing. I'm very thorough about washing my hands afterwards, though.
Sure,
So
of course. I mean,
you
that
never
should
know
be
what's going to get on there anyway. So just to be on the safe side,
Particles.
Of course.
I'm just going.
Of course.
I'm very thorough on that. Now,
So here's at my office we have what we call a poop closet. So it exists within the bathroom, and inside the bathroom where the sink is just a closet where sits only a toilet. So that's the only place where you can poop. So in that case, that throws your guys' whole wiping the water, the wetting.
No.
I know what you're
You go
thinking.
pre-soaked. You go in with some pre-soaked.
No.
Well-
you try and find like a plastic cup or something where you can fill up with water, and then you have a little water cup.
In fact,
right.
when I used to work
Brilliant.
at this restaurant in Flatiron, in the Flatiron area of Manhattan, and it's a multi-use bathroom, so it was like, the sink's not going to be in there with you. I kept a plastic container hidden, and so every time if I ever needed to go to the bathroom, I would just grab that, fill it up with water, and go into the sink.
Now,
you go.
obviously, you can't take that everywhere you go if you're just,
Sure.
so you make
You
the
try to
best,
do the best
you do
job
the best
you
you
can.
can do if you're
Of
like in a
course,
public
of course.
restroom or something like that, Now, again, Nicky, just as an analogy with, wiping a floor, as I said in the end, I do look at the end with a dry one anyway to make sure.
I will
So that
grant-
is, I am double checking anyway,
I will give you both the benefit of the doubt that you're fully thorough wipers. That is no longer in question.
Well, let me just say one
prefer
other-
the wet dry alternate. You prefer wet until you're ready to go.
and then dry
respect
at the
both
end,
of
and then
those.
dry. Now,
I
let me say,
respect those both so much that I'm embarrassed by my own technique. I don't think I'm going to change it.
well,
but
Nickon, let me just
I
say
am
something.
embarrassed.
Another thing about the
You shouldn't be
bunching, by the
embarrassed.
way, is
Everybody's got their own method.
That's true.
another thing about the bunching,
Gotten
by
me
the
this
way,
far. Yeah.
well, another thing about the bunching. Well, I appreciate the bunching to protect your fingers. Actually, that's actually being respectful of whoever you shake hands with.
Of course,
Now,
yeah. And
the
again,
thing
I
about
wash my hands just like anybody else.
Right. But the bunching.
I mean,
though,
I get under the fingernails, and everything.
Right.
Anyway, go on.
Now the thing about the bunching
When I'm
is
washing my hands in that situation.
Okay, thanks for clarifying. I thought you meant with poop.
No. I soap under my fingernails after I've gone number 2.
Sure, yeah.
now the bunching. Here's the thing. Now, have you ever seen a Swiffer wet jet or a
Swiffer. It's
Swifter
called Swiffer.
or a
Swiffer.
Swiffer?
Yes.
Have you ever seen one that was
Not a
bunched
sponsor
up, bunched up on the bottom, or do you see that it's flat?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, yeah, but that's different. We're talking about a surface versus like a
I guess there's crevices, yes.
Yeah.
But in order to get into the crevices, I need to make sure that like it's
purely psychological. It's whatever you feel comfortable. I'm certain of that. And you know what? I'm gonna make an effort tomorrow to try to do the fold and be neat and
Hey, everybody who's listening to this, why don't you attempt? And guess what? Let us know in the comments,
please,
how it worked out for you trying. Nicky and Max's
if you're a buncher,
method.
try folding. If you're a folder, try
folding,
bunching. And if you're something else, we want to hear about that too.
And if you're watching on YouTube, put in the YouTube comments. If you're watching or if you're listening on a streaming platform, either go on Instagram and tell us, or even just hopefully you guys write a review and let us know what your
Nice.
experience
Way to
was in
sneak
the
that in
review.
Oh, let me say one other thing about that. You know how we were all saying the wiping technique? I assume is somewhat similar amongst all of us, though. Leaning over, and
Yeah, the lean.
but I from what I understand, some people. Now, I find this pretty gross, actually. But hey, you do you, I guess. They go down from where their
So they go
crotch is.
forward?
Yeah, from
That's
they go
insane.
like in front of them, underneath, and I'm like, you're bound to get something on your balls or something like that.
Yeah, that's insanity. I
That's not
think
right.
you're making that.
How are you gonna?
I think that's an old wives' tale. You haven't met anybody who does that.
No. Okay.
This is just an old wives' tale that's been passed down generation.
No, here's the thing.
Passed down generation. It's like the boogeyman.
Yeah.
There was
Some
Bloody
urban
Mary
legend.
3 times in the mirror. Yeah.
The reason I recognized this, the first time I saw this, we were in a theater group, Nicky and me, in college, and there was some sort of pantomiming thing going on in this one group, this one sketch group, this one group that had a skit, and one of the guys was pantomiming wiping, but he was going like this, and I was like, "What?
Did everybody was like,
here?
"What are you doing?"
This is new to me." So he was
good
revealing everybody how he wiped.
Oh wow, all right.
Well,
Checks
Tom Segura had said that.
Oh, go yeah.
He said he goes down in the back, but he goes toward the taint, which is weird. I think
don't know
that's
how that even. Well, here's the thing.
He's
Sometimes I'm not going towards. I'm
that
kind of
Tom
wiping.
Segura,
Sometimes you're kind of wiping to the side, actually. To try and get.
I mean, it depends on what went down there. But again, let's remind ourselves that we're talking about like a run-of-the-mill, healthy, just standard diet.
Now, okay, here's one thing I want to touch on before we get back to the toilet paper preferences.
Right, because I think we're doing a great job of setting the table, but we haven't started the meal yet, which is what are your preferences?
I feel like we have discussed preferences.
Well, we just argued over wiping preferences, which is
hairs
that's a tangent.
Hairs are certainly being split. Don't you worry about that. I just
no,
want
you're
to
right.
sure
hey, as the judge, you got to keep an eye on
butthole
these
hairs
things.
Are being split. That's for sure.
What's it called again? The water that squirts out.
Bidet.
What are your thoughts on that? Because I don't like it. It seems like that's a messy situation, but
I think it's a matter of conditioning. I think if you got everybody I know who's like bought one for their toilet, you can get like an add-on on your toilet. They love them. They swear by them.
That's what people say.
But here's another question of concern for me on those is, aren't you getting like doesn't toilet water get on them or something like that?
Well, you're not doing it in lieu of wiping.
No.
It's basically
I'm saying when you flush the toilet at the end, there's usually a spray, or even when people are peeing, doesn't it spray onto the bidet that's going to shoot into your butt?
No, I assume that it's angled in such a way that it avoids all that.
Well, it is angled.
It's not coming out of the water.
It moves away actually after you're done.
Okay, yeah, there you go.
That's from what I understand. Yeah.
What'd you say, Nicky?
It's not coming out of the toilet.
No, I understand that. But what I mean is, there's that Curb Enthusiasm.
It'd be funny if it like came
bubbling
through the water,
toilet water
from below the water and up, and it's like really fun. Like it was a submarine or something. Like a telescope of a submarine.
There's that Curb Enthusiasm episode where Larry's getting
Periscope.
He has taken this medication for his urinary tract or something, and he's going pee a lot, but his pee is very forceful, and he ends up spraying all over the place and hitting a painting. I mean, I know it's an exaggeration, but anyway.
Max is right. In fact, we read studies that even the softest of pee sprays will splash up a little bit if you took like a black light and was able to see the different particles that are spraying back. It's a lot,
Well, that's for a different episode, I think, guys. We don't have.
That's for a different episode. But let's get back to.
We don't have time to explore that nightmare. Yes. So preferences. I still don't know. I want to hear. I don't know. What is it? I want to hear the brand and.
Well,
type
okay. I will say,
Now, here's where we're going to probably really split hairs on this. Because
lately, we have been buying 365 brand from Whole Foods, but I recently, sometimes we'll get Trader Joe's brand. And I got to say, as far as the cheaper brand goes, because we're not talking about Charmin, because that, if I had all the money in the world, I would get that Charmin Ultra one that we talked about earlier.
Yeah, and I will say is quite nice.
But Trader Joe's brand.
Well, I know what I'm getting you guys for Christmas.
Trader Joe's brand toilet paper.
It'd be funny if it's something completely different.
Is really good.
I thought it was toilet paper.
Sorry to disappoint. I got you.
Trader Joe's brand is really good. It doesn't break up to, especially when you. So that's the caveat is when I put water on the toilet paper, there's a chance that could break up the toilet paper even more.
Oh yeah.
Want something
with the one ply. That's especially.
That's a nightmare.
That's a nightmare.
You want something that's
well. Now that I know your styles, and of course, why would you ever go one ply? That makes.
Well, I used to do it, but I would be taking a lot more.
Sure.
Sounds terrible.
A lot more to make sure.
But get this, Nickon.
Right.
My older brother, he loves Scott one ply toilet paper, and he uses water on it. And I'm always thinking, how is that not breaking up immediately?
No, I know how, because I used to use one ply. He's taking more sheets per.
That's a waste.
Wipe.
And Scott is more expensive too.
Well, it's all environment, brand, I guess. There's that too.
Trader Joe's brand is the right amount of softness, and it doesn't break up easily, but it's thick enough. That's the brand I go by, and maybe we'll get into colors in a little bit.
Isn't the Trader Joe's one brown? Doesn't that?
No.
I think it used to be, but we'll talk about, because when we were kids, different colored toilet paper used to be more of a thing.
Okay,
anyway.
Let me just say, Nicky, I actually, because we live together, we're getting the same toilet paper. I have to say that while I like Trader Joe's, I actually do, for a while, for some reason, we had to keep getting Trader Joe's for a while, and then when we went back to 365, I was like, oh, thank goodness. I feel like it's a little bit thicker and therefore a little bit better. If you're using, for instance, you're saying, because you parse it out with 2 sheets, per dry wipe is what, if it's like a healthy, something like that.
Maybe if it's very healthy, maybe it's just 1 dry sheet. Anyway, go on.
Oh, that seems too, that's dangerous.
I'll fold it over.
That's danger zone right there to me. But anyway, let's just say your 2 sheets, I feel like that to me is a better it's just the right amount. With Trader Joe's, I feel like it's a little not quite, actually, personally.
I got to disagree with you on that. I think it's great.
So that's the economy pick.
Wait, but let me just finish off about that. I will say Trader Joe's, though, I feel like is less linty, though.
Right, yes, exactly. And that's a very important factor. You don't want it to be linty.
Okay. So all right, so those are the pros and cons of each. If gun to your head, which one are you got? And let's go economy. We're going with the economy pick right now.
Gotcha.
And so we've established that in the economy, what do you call it? Grouping. It's 365 versus the Trader Joe's brand.
And I guess some people might want to put Kirkland in there, the one that you.
Some people, sure, but I want to know what you guys think.
I'm going Trader Joe's.
I'm going Whole Foods 365.
All right, and we've heard the pros and cons of why.
Wrong.
Any outside arguments that haven't been addressed so far with those two? Because then I want to get into like all the money in the world category.
Well, okay, real quick, as the judge, I don't know if you have experience with either of those brands.
I don't. Okay. I try to avoid. There's something about the packaging with Trader Joe's that makes me. It just looks like it's not going to be a pleasant experience.
That's wrong, man. You got to open your mind.
Reason.
That's hilarious.
I'm a sucker for branding and that's why.
That's a good. Oh,
I go with Charmin or what? Okay.
Charmin because the Bears.
You go for Bears. You never get economy.
I never get. There was. I think I got 1 ply once. And
that's true economizing right there.
Yeah, and I was like, okay, this is definitely not worth it. And I think that experience scared me away from going cheap on toilet paper ever again.
Well, you know what's crazy is Scott brand tissue is not an economy brand. It's more expensive. Yet it's one ply.
No,
Weird.
let me explain though.
Oh, don't they have a 2-ply option too? I think
Scott does have a 2-ply option, but let me explain though, Nicky. It's not the way it's thicker. That 1-ply is thicker than a bit like the big roll you might see at Walgreens. It's a bigger ply. Yes, correct.
It's too thin. It's too thin.
I'm correct. No,
I know what I'm talking about.
It's still too thin, but it's thicker.
When I stay at Brent's house, he has that, and I'm always like, man, I hate this toilet paper. It's the worst. Go on.
Well, so anyway. So no, I haven't had the pleasure of using Trader Joe's brand.
And you just go name brand all the time.
I go name brand just because, okay, it's a couple of dollars more. It's something that I buy.
Sometimes it's like a lot more expensive.
Once every 4 months, though.
Like, you buy like a huge pack or what?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I buy whatever.
Like a 24 pack or something like that?
Yeah, whatever, however many it comes. Yeah. So I get the bigger thing so that I don't have to
that's
buy
fair enough. That's fair enough.
And if you
Where are you buying this? Like
the $5 extra over 5 months, I'm paying an extra $1 a month for something that's like that I know I'm never gonna have to like look down at my fingers and see. Oh God, So.
Because sometimes there's economy brand name things like there'd be like a Charmin cheap version where that does break apart easily. I don't.
That's
like
right.
Those.
That's right.
And that's something that we had experienced during the quarantine because it was the only thing available at times.
Yeah. Now, sometimes also you're getting like these toilet papers that it's like there's not enough sheets on the roll. It's like, what the hell? It's like, why are you even selling this as a roll? Anyway, this is a fleeting thought.
We're coming up on time. And
okay, but just color. Did you want to mention colors, Nicky, or print on the toilet paper?
Well, I did want to mention this briefly, and that's when we were kids. I remember there were different colored toilet papers. Like there was blue. There was even yellow and green, and there were also designs sometimes where the designs were kind of colored, but it was on a white sheet. But at a certain point,
like a little Charmin bear, like the pattern,
something like that.
I remember that.
But at a certain point, as you grew older, we stopped seeing those different colors, and it all became more homogenized. You would mainly see just white toilet paper. Once in a while, you'll see, you said, it's more of a save the forest kind of brand. It'll be brown, but
it's all like, profit maximization. They don't want to, it's like they're just trying to shove toilet paper into our butts.
Well, actually, I'm okay with that because white is the best anyway. Why would you want anything but white? Because you need to make sure there's like anything that's going to obscure what's going to look like. I don't want it. Get me out of there.
That's
true. You want white because the brown will show up the best on the white. Right?
Yeah, exactly. Although it might show up better on because like isn't white. So if white is the opposite of black, then what is the opposite color palette
of brown?
It's not white. It's something slightly different, right? Because white can't be the opposite of black.
Here's the problem. There's different shades of brown, and sometimes it even borders on like yellowish. It looks like yellowish looking actually. And so you're like, okay, the only way to be sure that I'm wiping everything is that there's no color. So that's the problem with it. So I feel like white is just it's clean. It's the cleanest look.
It's a blank slate.
It's a blank slate. Also, if it's black, then you should get checked out, actually.
Yeah, because that means blood, right? A black stool means blood.
There could be like a black tarry situation.
That could be a...
if
you should check out for that. I mean, that's a real serious
Maybe we should put a
PSA out there.
Well, no. Maybe we should put like an alert, not alert, but a thing, a preface.
Brown alert? Is that what it's called?
Yeah, right? Maybe we should put in the description of the title.
Is that what it's called?
Put in the description of this episode.
When you have diarrhea?
Hey, you're warned that we're talking about.
There's like an orange alert,
movements and stuff in this.
Isn't there like an orange alert for like government?
Oh, like yeah.
You know what I'm talking about? Like
I think I know. I mean, I know what you're talking about. I don't know what any of it is. It was the red alert.
Well, if
Red
like
alert.
states of emergency or something like
Sure,
that.
yeah.
So this is an orange alert. I think there's an actual brown alert too, I think. Unless I'm just making that up.
I think you're making that. I think that's like if you have diarrhea and you're like, oh, I got a brown alert. I gotta get out of here. That's the context I've heard of it. The last patterned designed toilet paper I recall seeing is the ones with Donald Trump's face on the toilet paper.
Oh, that's right.
Oh man,
Which
Max,
is-
that
that's pretty
really
fun.
goes into the idea that we were trying to make happen. I don't want to say it on here, but
Yeah, we don't want
in
somebody
case I
running away.
ever make that happen again.
Well, I feel like we should have some closing thoughts here because
Yeah, I want to. Okay, so for closing thoughts, I
Oh,
want to
we
hear
didn't say
your,
most
all the money in the world.
all the money. Yeah, okay,
Yes.
all the money in the world.
Or yeah, okay.
It's
and
that
then-
it's that Charmin brand.
That
we
Charmin
had.
brand, I think, actually.
But that specific one, that was the
Let's
best.
hear it again.
It was soft.
didn't
thick.
break. You didn't have to
Didn't
worry
break
about breaking apart.
apart,
Not
not
linty. It's very good.
Charmin.
I know we're not splitting hairs there,
Is
but
it a Charmin Ultra? What is it? Charmin Ultra.
it might be a
Soft.
Charmin Ultra. I can't remember exactly what it was.
Okay.
Right.
Oh, what about those toilet papers where they're like there's like ridges in them? I don't.
I like a
those.
ridge.
Oh,
I like or not a ridge.
A
I mean
ruffle?
ridge, right? You mean like a
Yeah, they're
I
like
think
ruffled.
like a tread. A tread.
Yeah, like a
Yeah.
tread.
I like a tread because again, I'm looking for I'm a buncher, so I'm looking for traction. I'm looking for some good friction because
Something
then I
that'll
know
kind
things
of
will happen.
almost
Yeah.
like a what is it called when you're a sponge that the side that's rougher? What is it called again?
the rough side of this.
No, but it's
Brillo
called
something, maybe.
It has a name.
yeah, I can't remember for some reason the word, but
I know.
anyway,
didn't know
I
that.
understand that kind of helps clean things.
I understand that.
Better
In
in
my
a way.
experience, those ridged ones or ruffled or whatever, those always break apart easier.
Really?
In my experience.
Okay. All right. All right. Well, so final thoughts, and I will say again, all the money in the world for me is I would use all of the money in the world.
I would think that would hurt.
That would hurt.
That would hurt.
That would hurt really bad.
But I would
That's
do
not
it
so-
once just to say I.
You got to be like, wow, I truly am rich.
Well, also, if I had all the money in the world, I would need that to be fresh out of the mint because that's touching everyone's hands. I don't think so. Not going to use that of mine, but
That's a good point. But then I'd probably.
We're talking about
process
coins, right?
we're talking
Yeah.
about kroner. Is that what it's called? Krones. What is it
Anyway,
called?
final thought.
Crowns.
Disease?
Crowns.
Oh, crowns.
No, but isn't a kroner is also a
A
thing?
kroner is I think it's
A crooner. You're thinking of a crooner.
I'm gonna wipe my butt with Frank Sinatra and Dean
no, I
Martin.
think Hungary or not Hungary, but one of those countries has like a kroner. Maybe it's like Sweden.
Oh,
Or something like
yeah.
A ruble. How about a ruple?
Sure. Why not?
that.
Good
Okay.
topic.
Anyway, closing thoughts. Judge, you want to say something there?
Well, I'm very impressed by all the research and thought that's gone into both sides, and I got to say, I don't know. My main takeaway is that I'm going to try some folding tomorrow and see if I don't just pass out from the fear of
Look, my
fingers touching poop.
And when you wake up, somehow you're all clean down there. Somebody's put you to bed,
Yeah.
and you're like, I don't know what happened, but
But
I've been
worked
tucked
out.
away, and somebody did something for me.
My final thought is I just want something soft, not too soft, but soft, durable,
Not
able to
linty.
withstand water,
not
and
linty.
doesn't break up, no lint. I guess that's what we all strive for, and two-ply.
I would think so. And if anybody disagrees with that, let's
No
hear it in the
break.
comments.
No break.
Well, again, my older brother prefers the one-ply, which is very weird.
Have him comment on YouTube.
No break, no lint. No break, no lint. Hold on, let me say it. No single ply, no break, no lint, no service.
And hey, if you're going to try something, Nickon, I would love to eventually try out a bidet and see what all the rage is, because I am doubtful.
Maybe it's more like raging waters.
Maybe that can be our first on the road episode.
Right on the
We're
road.
going to one of our friends who has a bidet. Try it out live.
Oh, that would be funny. That would be really funny.
I think that'll do it for this edition of Splitting Hairs with Max, Nicky, and Nickon.
Yep.
Keep
Another episode where I think everybody won. Everybody won this episode.
And hey, guys,
So
I just want to repeat, if you're listening and you regularly listen, please subscribe on YouTube or write a review and rate our podcast on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, wherever you listen to it. Please rate, review, and subscribe.
And you can follow us at
Splitting Hairs Podcast on Instagram.
At Splitting Hairs Podcast on Instagram.
And on Twitter at Split Them Hairs.
And as always,
please keep tuning in.
Yes.